Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Tampa Bay. How are you all this morning? I hope everybody made it here okay. I'm so excited to be here this morning talking to all of you about the incredible global impact of Israeli technology and innovation and the way that we are harnessing the Israel effect right here in Tampa Bay through our efforts at the Florida Israel Business Accelerator and beyond. So for those of you who are already aware of Israel's reputation as the startup nation, you may not need this background. But for those of you who are not aware, you may be wondering to yourself why I'm up here talking about a small country in the Middle East that's about the size of the state of Rhode Island and only has about 8 million people. Well, I can tell you that we should start by talking specifically about the typical Israeli entrepreneur. Now, you might think that at first glance, the Israeli entrepreneur looks like your average entrepreneur from anywhere else, Silicon Valley, or maybe even right here in Florida. They're hooked to their device, as most of us are. 44% of them come with their elevator pitch in tow at all times, but it's only on closer examination that we see the real differences. The composition of the Israeli entrepreneur is about 22% pita and 31% hummus. Although I'm not sure it's been scientifically proven that the steady diet of pita, hummus, and black coffee correlates to the overwhelming success of the Israeli entrepreneur. I think the real secret is in the right quadrant of the slide. The Israeli entrepreneur thinks outside the box. Again, you may be saying that's the case with a lot of entrepreneurs. They're creative thinkers, they're thinking outside the box, but I think a key difference lies in the fact that this mentality is really truly part of the Israeli mindset. It's integrated into the Israeli military, which is compulsory for all men and women, Israeli corporate culture. It pervades their society and I think makes a big impact. So outside of just the Israeli entrepreneur, there have been many books and articles, and we certainly don't have the time today to dive into all of the details of what makes Israel truly unique as the startup nation. But I'll share with you just right now a couple of details. Just last week, Bloomberg issued its 2019 Innovation Index that looks at a variety of different factors and actually ranked Israel 5th, notably above the United States and other countries, but it's important, I think, to note that Israel was ranked above the United States. Israel also leads the world in terms of per capita R&D spending, also above the US and other countries, as well as having the most per capita venture capital funding of any country. So these are some of the unique factors and statistics that show us just how unique and robust their tech and startup community is. Not all Israeli innovation is going to change the world. Some of it's just fun. Some of it is really critical to niche industries, but there are a few things that are notable that I wanted to highlight for you where Israeli innovation is truly changing the world. A first example is that of drip irrigation. Many people consider drip irrigation the most significant and notable invention in modern agriculture since the sprinkler was invented in the 1930s. And Israeli company called Netafim that technology really transformed the arid Negev into fertile farmland. And as many of us know, water scarcity is not just an Israel problem, it's a global problem. And drip irrigation is necessary to allowing us to really grow and consume the food that we all need and to tackle this problem. Israel also can take credit for the flash disk and the microchip processor. Intel has long understood and recognized the power of Israeli innovation, and they have a long relationship there that started with the invention of the microchip processor, which we all know has rapidly changed the way in which we work and we play and we use our computers. Lastly, from a security defense standpoint, the Iron Dome is an incredible innovation that literally saves lives on a daily basis. It's Israel's comprehensive missile detection and defense system that protects Israel from rockets fired from Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and others. So those are just a couple of those examples. In addition to the type of innovation that crosses industries, crosses technologies, Israel is disproportionately producing successful companies. Between 1999 to 2014, 2.6% of Israeli companies surpassed the $100 million revenue mark, and they consistently grow companies that are those unicorn companies, the exits of over $1 billion. And I have noted up here two unique examples of that: Mobileye, which was acquired again by Intel, and Waze, which many of us might have used to get here, which was acquired by Google. So you all might be sitting here wondering why I'm standing up here talking about Israel when we're here in Florida. And I think it's all great for Israel, but why do we care? And I think to better understand that, I want to take just a minute to think about and share with you a case study of what happened in Massachusetts. I don't know how many of you are familiar with MassChallenge, but it was a coordinated effort in the state of Massachusetts to harness the power of technology and innovation to fuel economic development. These are the efforts that many of us here are focused on in Florida. We're looking to find ways to do that. But a critical component of MassChallenge and part of the strategy that Massachusetts implemented was to focus on Israeli technology. And if you can see here from the slide that I have up, the impact was significant. I mean, Israeli technology alone moved the needle. In 2015, as this slide shows, the Massachusetts-Israeli business accounted for 3.8% of Massachusetts GDP. Now, while we may not be striving to have the same ecosystem here in Tampa Bay that they have in Boston, we can certainly take learnings from those other ecosystems. I think that's a large part of what this whole 2 days at Synapse is about. And that can apply to Israel as well. So for us at the Florida-Israel Business Accelerator, we're striving to move the needle as well by bringing these Israeli companies here to Tampa Bay, engaging in our ecosystem. And in just a couple of years, we're pleased to report that 30% of the companies that have come through our program over the last 2 years continue to make an impact in our local economy by hiring here, opening offices, using local advisors, service providers, just to name a couple of examples. And these are really lagging indicators of what it is that we're doing at FIBA, because as you all know, it takes time to build these relationships. So we still continue to engage with a number of these companies, and these are the companies that we've worked with over the last 2 years. Now for 2019, we're incredibly excited. We have 12 new companies that are joining our launch program and that are getting to experience the excitement of the summit, the momentum of the Tampa Bay ecosystem, and forging those bonds that we think will help to move that needle and elevate the ecosystem here that we have in Tampa Bay. Now, I mentioned before some of the Israeli companies that are solving global problems. Some of our FIBA companies are solving global problems as well, and we're so excited to have them in the program. I just want to give you a couple of examples of companies from our 2019 portfolio that's Israeli innovation solving global challenges. One example is a company called Wasteless. As many of us know, food waste, particularly in this country, is a significant problem. There is just too much fresh food, produce, meats, everything that we spend tons of energy and emissions transporting from farm to supermarket only to get thrown away. So Wasteless is a unique company that is harnessing the technology of dynamic pricing and applying it to the food that we buy in the grocery store. Their whole premise is, why should you spend the same amount of money on a yogurt that expires in 2 days as a yogurt that expires in 10 days. We all know we do the reach around to the back of the shelves at Publix and pull out that yogurt with the latest date. And their solution brings technology to this industry solving this problem. Another example of a company that we have that's truly solving the world's problems is Vorpal. Vorpal is an incredible drone detection system that allows military, law enforcement, and other companies like utilities where there's secure assets that need to be protected to detect both the drone and the drone operator. It's extremely relevant and timely with the recent airport closures in Gatwick and other places where drone activity resulted in the loss of millions of dollars to the airports. So this is incredibly important, and if any of you guys saw and read about what was happening in Gatwick, they truly had no other option but to fly police helicopters looking for the drones, looking for the operators, and their only option truly was to shoot down a drone, which they had restrictions in their ability to do that. So with a technology like Vorpal, they would be able to very quickly, efficiently, and effectively identify the drone operator and stop the drone activity. So two examples of FIBA companies that are solving global problems that we're very excited to have here in Tampa. And then lastly, our company from last year, another company that we think is truly solving global problems here in Tampa Bay, our 2018 company eConcrete is now a firmly established company here in downtown St. Pete. Their innovative concrete technology is saving marine life, improving air quality, and saving and protecting our shorelines from rising sea levels. These issues are particularly important to our way of life here in Florida, but I don't want you to take my word for it. Please hear it firsthand from CEO and co-founder of eConcrete, Shimrit Perkal-Finkel. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, my name is Shimrit Perkal-Finkel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of eConcrete. I'm a marine biologist and ecologist from Tel Aviv, Israel. I've been working in over 20 countries and diving across the globe, trying to find new solutions to reduce the ecological footprint of coastal and marine infrastructure on the marine environment. eConcrete was born around 2011 when myself and my co-founder, Dr. Ido Sela, had the opportunity to dive in several infrastructure facilities like ports, marinas, and power plants, seeing seawalls made of concrete that are performing very poorly in the marine environment and accommodating very low biodiversity, taking the place of beautiful and pristine coastal marine habitats. We started thinking about ways of developing a concrete solution that doubles both the advantages and the requirements of marine construction and also accommodate the ecological functions and needs of the ecosystem. We envision eConcrete being very dominant in the Floridian coastline and scene. Some of the synergies that we're seeing is the need in coastal hardening. Unfortunately, because of sea level rise threats and increased storminess, will definitely require Florida to armor up. And we would like to see that done with ecology, really binding forces with nature to create a win-win solution where we have natural ecosystems protected and enhanced, also protecting the Floridian coastline. We would envision every seawall in Tampa and Miami being an eConcrete seawall and not using any of the gray, featureless infrastructure technologies that are existing today.